Now Paul says, do not be unwise. Here he uses a different word than that of verse 15. It is aphron, and it means, it might be aphron. I don't have the Greek squiggly above it, so it might be aphron. And it means lacking perspective, because short-sighted, for example, lacking the overall picture, meaning the perspective needed to act prudently. Doesn't that fit with what I just said about Einstein? He was lacking the overall picture because he had rejected the most important part of the picture. And so he, of course, is going to not be prudent in his decisions. To explain what this entails, he then says, but understand what the will of the Lord is. So we're going to go to the Proverbs, and we're going to go to Proverbs 9, because I have it listed here. And we're going to see what he says, probably what I just quoted, and I should have just said it, but let me see. I'm going to take you to Proverbs 9. And then in verse 10, it's, yes, I just quoted it. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. It's Proverbs 9:10. He had no knowledge of the Lord and no desire to pursue him. And because of that, his thinking was flawed. It wasn't incorrect, but it was flawed. We begin to demonstrate wisdom by fearing the Lord. From that stepping stone, we are to learn what his will, the Lord's will, is for us. How do we do this? Do we go meditate in the corner of a room? Do we watch TV hoping to hear a wise man tell us of what God's will is? What is it that brings us to an understanding of the will of the Lord? It is reading and remembering Scripture. It is the source of our understanding of what we are to do, how we are to act, and what we are to refrain from doing. I guarantee you, if Albert Einstein came to the Lord during his life, everything that he did after that moment would have been beyond exceptional. It would have been incredible. But because he didn't have an understanding of the Lord, and he was actually scared about the thought of the Lord, everything went down the wrong path. It is incomprehensible that people do not want to learn Scripture, and yet they claim to be followers of the Lord. You hear it all the time. How can you follow and imitate that which you do not know? How can you do it? Although spoken to Israel while under the law, Jesus' words in the parable of the sower show us where such an attitude should lead. Hang on a second here. Mark, Luke, and we're going to go to Luke 12. And then we're going to go to verse 47, and it says there, and that servant who knew his master's will and did not prepare himself or do according to his will shall be beaten with many stripes. And then verse 48, but he who did not know yet committed things deserving of stripes shall be beaten with few. For everyone to whom much is given, from him much will be required, and to whom much has been committed, of him they will ask the more. Further, without knowing the word and applying it to a right understanding in context of what is saying, he then gives these words from Matthew 13, where he says, give me a second here, Matthew 13, verse 19, he says, oh, that's a long chapter. Okay, 13, verse 19, when anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, then the wicked one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is he who received seed by the wayside.